Welcome to Religion, where we highlight and teach you our best health practices for mind and body. Here are your hosts, Brent Anderson and Veronica Sosa.
Welcome to Religion. I'm Veronica Sosa. I'm a psychotherapist, and Brent Anderson is a physical therapist, and we are going to be talking about the importance of breathing and specifically how to stop panic attacks. And Brent, it's good to see you. How are you?
It's good to be with you again on Religion. And, this is a really exciting topic for me because I discovered these things by accident, right? So I'm teaching breath as a way of controlling movement and increasing strength and learning how to move better. And then we see this byproduct of people actually talking about how they feel better, they feel calmer, they deal with disorders they have that I'm not treating them with for anxiety or for depression, but they notice that they have more energy and they're calm and they're more focused. And I'm really excited to talk to you today and hear you explain a little bit about some of your work with, sky breathing and the 4-7-8 methodology of breathing to manage that, because I think it can really benefit me in my practice. And I'm sure a lot of people at home and a lot of other professionals who deal with movement, just having some simple breathing techniques to manage some of these, symptoms and also challenges that people have to focus or to calm their anxiety.
Absolutely. So as a psychotherapist, one of the things I hear a lot about is people coming to counseling because they're either struggling with symptoms of anxiety and or depression. And oftentimes the two are really kind of interlaced. But sometimes the symptoms can be so severe that the anxiety can be so severe that it's actually manifesting as a panic attack. And for those people who've never had one before, they can be terrifying. It can feel like you're having palpitations, like you may actually be having a heart attack. Some people feel like a tension or a contraction in the chest. Their actual chest can sink a little bit just from the tension. People can get headaches. They feel like they want to cry or they're going to burst out crying, or that a lot of people report feeling like they're actually dying or they're going to die or that something horrible is about to happen.
I was going to share with you, Veronica, that just recently I had a relative, and I'm talking even within the last 2 weeks, that had a full anxiety attack and suffers from bipolarism and is being treated, but he got so severe that it's exactly what he felt. He felt that he was dying, that he was just, bawling. He couldn't control. He curled up in a ball. And the thing that helped him was somebody holding him and getting him to breathe. So that was how he started to calm down and come off of that breakdown. And this is a very severe case and a severe example of it. But the very first intervention was, a tactile contact and getting him to
that
breathe.
Can be very important. Yeah, absolutely. So I do a lot of comprehensive work and very integrative work in my practice. I implement some cognitive behavior therapy and mindfulness, and I do a lot of mind-body work. I'm going to put up a little infographic for you guys to see. But really, I never just tackle anxiety or depression from one angle. And what we're going to do today is give you a tip and give you some strategies that you can use, but please don't think that this is a fix-all, because it will, for people who struggle with this, you really need to take the time to work on really kind of looking at what's going on in your life, being aware of some of the stressors that you may or may not even be perceiving. A lot of us tend to normalize certain stressors because we've been in a pattern of behavior for so long, or we've been in toxic relationships for so long. And so it's not until our bodies manifest a panic attack that it's like a wake-up call that, people will come to counseling because they just want those symptoms to stop. Many times when a client comes to counseling, I don't actually start off by talking about the importance of breathing. And in part, it's because they've heard about this before and they feel like it hasn't worked for them. And the truth of the matter is that most people and most of the information out there is actually not teaching them to stop a panic attack. And so they throw out the concept of breathing altogether. And I've had clients say to me, like, I am not coming to counseling to learn how to breathe. Please, I've had counselors that the moment I walk in, that's all they want to do. And I feel like I never made any progress. And it breaks my heart to hear that, because, you know, breathing is one important element and something very beneficial that people can get out of it.
Powerful.
To learn it, you need to learn how to do it correctly. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it's so powerful of a tool. But I agree with you. We often talk about breath being a tool, not a rule. And, you know, as it pertains to movement, and realizing that there's a very spontaneous component of it that we want to participate. We want people to tap into that, you know, naturally allowing breath to do what it's meant to do. And it's such a fundamental part of living that even if we pulled up, you know, my limited knowledge in psychology, but if you take up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, you take breath away or air away from somebody for 30 seconds, you want to create a panic attack. You could be right in the middle of self-actualization up on top, and somebody puts a bag over your head, forget it.
Right.
So that's why, you know, I always tell my clients, like, do we have to go back and talk about breathing again? It's like, well, you know, it is in everything. Do you have, you know, if I take breathing out of your exercise today, would you be able to exercise?
Exactly. So one of the things that I start with is I actually show them, and I have it here, but I'm going to put it up on the screen for you to see. But I show them this little infographic here. And right at the top, you'll see there's these 5 tenets of therapeutic self-care. And the very first one is physical health. And with physical health, we look at everything from sleep, nutrition, you know, movement, breathing, what you're doing to really restore your body and take care of your physical need, your body's physical needs. So that's exactly what you're talking about, Brent, that, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs talked about, you know, all of those things first. And then we look at, you know, lifestyle. So what's in the lifestyle area, right? Like, are you in a safe home? What is your home environment like? How have you set up your life, right? And so as we go through all of these different things, so there's 5 different areas of therapeutic self-care: physical self-care, lifestyle, psychological, mental self-care. Then we have the social and family sometimes, but mostly it's the social supports. And then we also look at the spiritual connection. And it's not religion. It's not about religion, but it's those things that reconnect you to a higher purpose, or, you know, really kind of fill that spiritual void that we see across cultures, and we see that humans have had a need for so long historically. So when we look at the breath, and I introduce breath as one component of the therapeutic physical self-care goals, then people become a lot more open to the idea. And really, when I start to teach the 4-7-8 breath, their mind is blown, because what we're able to do is, first of all, a lot of people who've had panic attacks don't always connect the fact that they haven't had restful or restorative sleep. So if you've had, you know, if you typically sleep 8 hours a night, and you went 3 or 4 days with sleeping maybe 7 hours, maybe one night you slept 6 hours, one night you maybe only slept 5, right? The chances of you having more anxiety after episodes of not sleeping correctly can be much, much higher. So I teach the 4-7-8 breath not only to stop the panic attack, but also to help them fall asleep and get restful, restorative sleep. Okay.
So let's do it. Let's do the 4-7-8 breath.
So the 4-7-8 breath is exactly what it says. You're going to inhale for 4 counts. You're going to hold it for 7, and you're going to exhale for 8. And the way that the reason that this works, and it's been scientifically researched, and they've had some really great studies showing that this can actually take people from an aroused state, a highly aroused state, okay? So they're very excitable, their body is agitated, right? Or they're having what we call a stress response, to going into the parasympathetic state, which is a more calm and relaxed state. So with the 4-7-8 breath, you don't want to do it too long. And the emphasis is really on the exhale, okay? And a lot of the deep breathing methods that are taught out there are really about teaching people to inhale, when in reality, you need to learn how to exhale fully and completely. You want to get the toxins out of your body, and the sooner you're able to do that, the quicker you're able to make the shift to get your body into a calm and relaxed state. Okay, so I'm going to actually take my coat off real quick so I can show you. I'm stuck here. Okay, so we're going to start by we really want to focus on the diaphragmatic breathing, okay? And maybe you've seen one of our other episodes where we talk about this as well. But for diaphragmatic breathing, what we're going to do is we're going to try to get movement going out, and so kind of out this way and then out this way, really kind of opening and allowing for a deep belly breath, okay? So you're going to breathe in for 4, and it's going to go like this. Hold for 7, and then you're going to exhale for 8. Inhale for 4. Hold for 7. And exhale for 8. Inhale for 4. Hold for 7. And exhale for 8. It's going to feel a little bit labored to exhale for that long in the beginning. But once you can do it, and I'm kind of exaggerating the sound just so that you can get a sense for what it will be feeling like. But really, when you do it and you practice it, you want to make sure that you're aware of the sound of your breath. I want you to increase your awareness to the sound of the inhale, and also how it feels to get your breath into these lower parts, these lower chambers of the lung, if you can imagine, if you can visualize it that way. Does that make sense, Brett?
Yeah. You know what I noticed immediately? I practice meditation regularly, and there's a state that I often call the nectar. Like when you get into meditation and there's sort of like an absence, and literally just counting in my head as I was exhaling. I wasn't thinking about anything else other than just sort of listening to the pursed air come out my lips. And the other thing that came to my mind is, I played trumpet in high school and a little bit in college. And there's something about that controlled, long, sustained exhalation.
Yes.
That is really powerful. And it's funny because I was dealing with some stress, quite a bit of stress last year, and I picked my trumpet up after like 15 years of not playing the trumpet. And I found that playing the trumpet actually was very calming to me. And I would feel back in that sort of, my normal, relatively chill, and I don't have, a lot of anxiety, but I was dealing with it at that time. And the trumpet allowed me to control it. And it's exactly what I just felt. First of all, with the holding sort of stop things, the apnea, I realize, and research shows is a really powerful tool when it's used constructively, like you just did with the 4-7-8. And then that controlled long sustained breath shuts down the sympathetic ganglia of the trunk along the costovertebral junction. So that was very interesting. That I sort of, a couple things in my mind. What's that?
I said, can you repeat that? That was
yeah. No, I mean, it may be a little too scientific sometimes, but inside the rib cage, where the ribs come in and connect to the spine, is the sympathetic ganglia. And you talked about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. So in our brain, we have what's called the limbic system, which is the fight, flight, fright part of the body, very sympathetic response, the adrenaline and getting pumped up for trying to escape or play a sport game or something like that. And then we have the parasympathetic, which is more prefrontal lobe, and the parasympathetic, so that's more digestion, reproduction, creativity, socialization, those kind of things.
Pre-sleep. So, for example, people who are in a flight-fight response, don't get, their sleep is not restful. And
Right.
part of the reason is because they're so activated in their sympathetic nervous system that it's hard for them to make the switch, because they're, I work with veterans who've had extreme forms of PTSD, and sleep can be a huge issue for them. This is a very, very powerful tool for people who are in that constant state of arousal. And
So we have a sign up in our office that says only one person can be in a limbic mode at a time in the office. And now I'm going to put up a big sign that's the 478. So we don't have to say anything. We just sort of point like, go get some 478s. I love it. It's great. So simple.
So simple. For people who are struggling to fall asleep, or if they have midnight wakings, or a lot of people who have who are having a stress response, they go to sleep around 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock, they'll notice that they naturally will wake up around 3 o'clock. And if you're having that situation, I'll oftentimes do a sleep analysis on a lot of my clients to just kind of see if there's a pattern there or what we can find. And there's a lot of different things that you can do. A lot has to do with how you're regulating your water intake. And we want to look for, we want to rule out things like sleep apnea, obviously, or any kind of a sleep disorder. But many times a great first step is to try this, the 4-7-8 breathing, to try and get yourself back into a sleep state as quickly as possible. Why? Because in order for you to wake up, it meant that your cortisol levels had to rise. And your cortisol levels are also your stress hormones, right? So that's your stress hormone is what allows you to wake. And cortisol can be a great thing. We're supposed to have natural peaks and natural dips. And that's what helps maintain a healthy circadian rhythm. It helps us produce all of the right combination of neuro, just our overall functioning, but the right combination of hormones to keep us happy and healthy, right? So the first thing we want to tackle is that sleep. Obviously, if you're having panic attacks during the day, you're going to want a tool to help regulate the panic attack, and this will help with that. But we also want to look at the sleep and what you can do to help get you back into a restful state of sleep.
And that's probably going to be another one of our episodes, is to come talk about sleep hygiene. Like how do we improve our sleep habits and behavior in a world where we're taught that we probably shouldn't sleep so much. Everybody's demanding on us, and we caffeinate and do all those things to be able to function. All of a sudden it turns 11, 12 o'clock at night, and we're like, I'm supposed to go to sleep now. So
exactly. And there's some very, very small tweaks that people can do. Like I was talking about water intake, but also sometimes alcohol. Sometimes alcohol will have that effect on people if they have a glass of wine with dinner at night, or, it actually will interrupt their sleep cycles. And sometimes they don't even realize it until I ask them about it. And they notice that if they're drinking, it might be impacting their sleep. So
that's interesting. They think they're relaxing with it, and actually could be setting them up for a rough night's sleep. Exactly.
So that's one of the techniques that I wanted to give you guys today. Another
4-7-8.
4-7-8. And remember that you want to do anywhere from 4 to 6, 7, maybe 8 cycles, but no more than 8. Okay. Most people, when you're doing it correctly, especially my goal for a lot of my clients when they use it for sleep, is that you won't even be able to get to your 3rd or 4th cycle because you'll be asleep by then.
Awesome.
Okay. So that's a goal. And if obviously the more you practice it, the better you will get at it. Right. So I hope this was really helpful for you guys at home. And I hope that you can practice this, and feel free to contact us with other questions or ways to work with us, or to learn more about the work that we do. So we want to encourage you to keep being healthy and keep on your path of health and wellness. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
And we'll see you on the next Religion podcast.